With less than 2 weeks until the halving event, Bitcoin is showing considerable short-term and macro strength. In today's video, we're going to be discussing Bitcoin in massive amounts of detail, going over exactly what you need to be paying attention to, how the charts are shaping up, and what to expect next. Let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having a fantastic weekend. In today's video, we are leaving absolutely no stone unturned, going over not only the short term, but the macro price action as well, discussing the key levels you need to be paying attention to, why the price action is undoubtedly still bullish, and what we expect next based on the technical and structural levels. We'll also be going over the macro charts in massive detail as we do have the halving event coming up very soon, and we'll be finishing up discussing why the macro charts are preparing for a potential leg upwards according to historical data. So before we do get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos of Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you are interested in, join us over on Telegram. It is the third link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. If you are interested in taking your trading to the next level, join us over on the VIP. We post trading setups with exact entries, exact targets, exact stop losses, trade justification, exclusive analysis, and so much more. You'll also get access to our group chats, our general chat, our trading chart and education chat, our help, news, daily video, and trade setup chat. If you're interested in getting access to all of that, contact me in the pinned comment of the free channel or click these links for more information. With that being said, let's dive in. Starting on the market data, how are we looking? 24-hour volume is down 42%, sitting at 95 billion. In fact, this is probably one of the first times I've seen 24-hour volume under 100 billion for quite a few weeks. We are moving into the weekend. We are moving into economic data such as inflation. We are moving into the FOMC data pretty soon, and we are moving into the halving event. With that being said, Bitcoin is as well compressing quite tightly, and that is generally a result of, again, our volume decreasing, our volatility decreasing, and we can see that expressed by these numbers. With that, 24-hour liquidations are down 59%, sitting at 77 million. Of the 77 million, 22 million have come from long liquidations, and 54 million have come from short liquidations. Taking a brief look at Bitcoin's price action, we can see Bitcoin has continued toward the upside, bouncing yet again from our neutral range low at 65.8k, continuing toward the upside to retest that 69k short-term and high time frame resistance, breaking out of our RSI downtrend as a result. We'll be discussing this in a lot more detail in just a moment. Moving over to the broader markets, the DXY is still ranging at the moment along this uptrending support line. Again, a loss of this uptrending support line is going to result in this correction to retest our weekly lows down at 103 in this green zone. If we do remain above this uptrend, we could see a continuation back to retest our yearly highs at 105. And of course, if we break over 105, we'll be expecting a strong continuation upwards. As of right now, resistance is resistance until it is not. We are in an uptrend. However, our horizontal levels take priority over our diagonal levels, and therefore this level is going to be a weaker level, and the expected trajectory is going to be downwards at the moment, provided this uptrend is lost. Moving over to the broader markets, again, the S&P 500 did take a little bit of a beating over the last week. Overall, it is a red candle. It is one of the larger red candles we have actually seen for quite some time. However, like we've been saying, any correction that develops that keeps the price over 5,000 is considered a healthy correction. So we see a correction down over here and continuation, a correction to 5,000 continuation, even a smaller time frame correction continuation. Every single correction that keeps the price above 5,000 is considered healthy. It is if we lose that 5,000 level, would we expect a retracement back to retest our 2021 high? The exact same thing goes over here for the Dow Jones. We saw a pretty aggressive correction this this week for the Dow Jones, retesting that $39,000 short-term trigger point. And again, if we do lose that short-term trigger, we would see a extended correction to 38 being the main high time frame support. A loss of 38 results in a fill of the VRPV gap and a retracement back to the 2021 highs. Until that does occur, any correction, whether it be a short-term or a higher time frame correction, will be considered a healthy correction, and the charts are considerably bullish. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump over to Bitcoin. A quick word from Bitget and BingX before we do. I wanted to briefly interrupt today's video to discuss the two exchanges we use on this channel, Bitget and BingX. So which exchange should you sign up to? If you look to the right hand side of the screen, you're going to see the list of differences in relation to KYC requirements and the countries these exchanges offer services to. The first link down below being the Bitget link, and the second link down below being the BingX link. No matter which link you sign up to, you're going to get up to 15% discounts on your trading fees, up to $5,000 in trading rewards, and of course, you'll get access to every single MegaWhale exclusive bonus campaign we run on these exchanges. Alongside that, Bitget and BingX are incredibly similar. They are both ranked top 10 in terms of trading volume. They both have extensive liquidity pools and market pairs offering up to 125x leverage. And most importantly, they both offer protection funds for their users to protect you against any third-party hacks. So get started now and support the channel by clicking the links below. Thanks for listening. Okay guys, let's go ahead and jump over to Bitcoin's chart, discussing the short-term time frame first and foremost. So as you know, I have been considerably bullish on Bitcoin over the last few days as we have noticed some massive absorption going on with the price action. And you can see Bitcoin has now bounced from our higher low, our local low range, which is going to the range between 65.8 to 65.3, as well as the confluence point of our uptrend of our Pennant structure. We have seen a rally from that level to 69,000. And all of a sudden, everyone was calling for lower prices and calling for 50k over here is now starting to flip bullish again. Do not trust the price action. Don't look at the price action and ask yourself, what does it look like? Where is it going? Look at what the buyers and sellers are doing. Look at the strength behind the price action. If we took a look at the price action, like I've been saying over the last couple of days, looking at the RSI, we have seen lower lows develop on the RSI, but we saw higher lows develop on the price action. This is indicative of strength. Yes, the momentum has been falling, but falling momentum is just an expression of exhaustion, which is normal to see after we see a large surge in volatility followed by compression in price action. So all in all, the buyers were still stepping in, the buyers are still in control, and everything here was just a consolidation, a chop between support and resistance. And like I say, until support is lost, support is support until it is not. So we have seen that continuation upwards. If you caught those lows, congratulations, you have profited dearly. But we'll be discussing now in today's video what we expect from this point onwards, how the bulls can continue to push the price upwards, and what the bears will have to do to reclaim control of the price action. So to answer that question, let's go ahead and start off like we did in our prior video, discussing what is happening from a structural perspective, and then jump into our predictions and the technicals. So at the moment, Bitcoin is still, even with the fantastic move up in the last 24 hours, Bitcoin is still very much in a neutral consolidation. This is going to be our pennant formation. A pennant is simply defined as an area of consolidation, generally occurring over a smaller time frame. In this instance, we have more symmetrical triangle formation as it is a higher time frame, where we have a downtrending diagonal resistance, which is basically lower highs developing, okay, and an uptrending diagonal support, which is essentially higher lows developing. With that, we have compression and we have convergence of the trend lines as time goes along. We eventually reach an apex point. With these patterns, the general direction of break is the directional continuation of which the price will move in. Thus, if we do see a break of the upper trend line, that is confirmation that the price will continue in that directional direction. If we see a breakdown of the uptrending support line, that is confirmation we will see a directional continuation downwards. So until we see either of that, we don't have 100% confirmation of directional continuations up and below. All we can talk about in terms of certainty and probability is the directional moves between the trend lines and the apex point of the triangle. And that is what we said. When we reach these lows, there's a greater probability of a swing back to the highs. Then there is a breakdown, as the technical suggested. We did have over absorption and strength. So if we zoom out from these levels, if we do see a break above the pennant, we look for targets based on horizontal levels. So we are looking for our primary high points. Our 74K region is going to be a major area of resistance if retested. If we see a breakdown, we are looking back at that 60K region, a major area of support. So that now takes us to discuss our horizontal levels. If we take a look, we have got 4 primary horizontal levels, and with those 4, we have 5 different trends. We have got, okay, our 74K major high time frame resistance. This is going to be our all-time high of 2024. We have got our 60K high time frame support level, again a loss of 60,000, officially puts Bitcoin in a high time frame downtrend. Okay, why can we say that? Moving over to this chart over here, this is the 60K area of support. A loss of 60K refers, or will deem this as deviation above the high. The price action will break below the 2021 high, break below the 20 February high, and result in a correction back lower. So this is going to be a shifting point for the macro trend in price action from aggressively up into an official downtrend. So 60K is a significant level that does need to hold if the price action wants to continue upwards. Then we've got our 2 neutral areas. We've got our 65.8, okay, to our 69K region. The distance between these points is a neutral zone. It is a neutral zone on the higher time frame. That is going to be the distance between the 2021 all-time high at 69K and the weekly close of that same candle. The distance between here is a neutral zone. A weekly break above is bullish. A weekly break below is short-term bearish. So continuation and short-term correction. Moving back over to the smaller time frame price action, if we now define the trends, taking a look at the actual support and resistance levels, above 74K is macro bullish. We expect continuations. Below 60K is high time frame bearish. We expect corrections. Below 65.3 to 65.8 is short-term bearish. Above 69K is short-term bullish. And between these levels is neutral, depending on the structural strength and the technical strength. So at the moment, those are the key levels you should be paying attention to. So what does that mean, and where is Bitcoin likely to go next? This is where we need to take a look at developing strength. At the moment, we are taking a look at 2 key structural levels. The primary structural level, first and foremost, is going to be this dotted trend line, the RSI. This is respective, or should I say, reflecting the overall strength of price action within the area I have just gone ahead and boxed out. This is telling us within this area of price action, we have seen falling momentum. Ever since we've entered this range over here onwards, we've had falling momentum. However, what we can see now is we have just had a 4-hour RSI close pivot above that downtrending trend line, suggesting for the first time since the 25th of March, we have now got positive momentum. With positive momentum, we are more likely to break through resistances and continue upwards to our primary structural resistance to create a new lower high, or to break out officially and move to 74K. So the short term right now is undoubtedly bullish for Bitcoin. Moving over to the higher time frame, provided we see both of those validations met, meaning we see the breakout on the RSI, we see the retest of this trend line. For a breakout of this trend line, we are going to need to see the higher time frame RSI trend line breakout, which is a solid trend line. Again, the solid trend line is a reflection of momentum since the start of this symmetrical triangle formation. If we want to see a breakout of the symmetrical triangle formation, we need to see the momentum that has been developing once the price action started developing within the horizontal, or should I say the symmetrical triangle, turn positive. It is unwise to assume we're going to see a positive breakout of the structural pattern we're in if the momentum developing with the price action during the time of which the price was within the structural pattern has not turned positive. If we see one but not the other, that is indications of fake out. If we see both, that is an indication of confirmation of breakout. If we don't see either, we're not breaking out. So we're watching for those levels. Let's now dive into the smaller time frame and talk about the immediate price action on the hourly chart. So what we can see, Bitcoin is pushed up to retest that 69K level, a major area of short-term resistance. resistance. So again, on a short-term chart, support, resistance. Now we do have positive momentum, so that does tell us there's a greater probability we do push upwards over here. However, resistance is resistance until it is not. So we could see short-term pullbacks. Now it is unwise to assume the short-term pullback would be bearish. If we drop below this uptrending support, that would be of concern. Right now, the short term is very much in a uptrend as represented by this diagonal trend line. So even if we do see small corrections over here, we are expecting eventual continuations upwards. For the bearish case scenario, it is the same thing as we have been discussing in the past. For the bearish case scenario, we need to start breaking these higher lows developing on these smaller time frames. We have higher low over here, we have a higher low over here, and we need to drop below the primary high time frame higher low, which is going to be the higher low of this structural formation, which is that symmetrical triangle formation, which would validate not only a breakdown of the pennant, but a confirmation of a downtrend lower. So right now on the short term, we could see some weakness develop over here. Of course, we do have a potential bearish divergence developing, and that bearish divergence is in a point of major resistance, which is that 69k resistance. So we could see a little bit of weakness developing over here. However, while the strength remains positive on the higher time frame, it is unlikely that this weakness developed on the short term will be anything but just weakness on the short term. So we could see some volatility, we could see some short-term pullbacks, but it's unlikely that it's going to develop into anything more than just a short-term pullback. Again, watching these higher lows. If we lose this higher low, we expect a correction lower into support. While we remain above these higher lows, we are very much expecting continuations through and up to retest that diagonal point. That is enough about the short term, guys. Let's go ahead now and jump over to the macro charts. So like you all know, the halving event is a massive event for cryptocurrency, and it is happening in around 14 days time. Historically, we can see the halving event has not been an immediate trigger, but has been a major factor in determining the macro trajectory of Bitcoin and the overall strength of Bitcoin, and one of the factors of which pushes Bitcoin into a bull run. Now, there are many other factors that facilitate macro directional continuations upwards for risk assets markets. In fact, I would say the halving event is actually one of the least important. When we're looking at directional continuations in macro and macro drivers, we are looking at overall perceived systematic risk as a consequence of future interest rates, current interest rates, cost of debt, the strength of a dollar. All of these things influence the direction of assets more so than the halving event. The halving event is an additional cherry on top, would you like to say. It is not a main driver, but it is a driver nevertheless. We do have that in 14 days time, and as we do approach these massively widely anticipated events, it is normal to see indecision in price action. It is expected to see what we have seen in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks. There's mass consolidation, which is basically indecision in the price action before we have these major events. So let's take a look at the macro price action. From a macro perspective, we are noticing a very similar pattern we have seen in the past before we enter the quote-unquote parabolic phase. And as you know, for us to enter that parabolic phase in Bitcoin, we need to break above two things. We need to see the RSI break 80, we'll come back and explain that in a second, and we need to see the price action hold and break over the prior all-time high on the monthly. But let's go ahead, and before we come back to that, let's talk about what we are seeing on the shorter time frame. From a technical perspective, we are seeing a very similar thing we saw in 2021 and even back in 2016, and that is the period of which the price action is retesting the prior all-time high, while we have the same technical validations as we do now, which is, we'll go over it. Number one, we have the price action sitting at, okay, the high long moving average at the time Bitcoin is retesting the all-time high. We can see the price action is sitting at the high long moving average. We have the price action sitting above, okay, the 50, not the 50, we are sitting above the Ichimoku cloud baseline, which is this middle red line. We can see the middle red line, we are sitting above that. We are sitting above the low short EMA and the high short moving average, which is the orange and yellow line of the pi cycle indicator. And with that, we can see that the low long SMA is pushing into, okay, the Ichimoku cloud from the bottom side up. We are seeing from a technical standpoint and a structural standpoint, exactly the same validations we saw in 2020. It is quite literally a carbon copy from a technical perspective what we saw at this period of time back in 2020, which is fantastically bullish because again, history doesn't always repeat, but it often rhymes. And if we see the same structural formations and technical formations, it is suggestive of the same degree of strength when we know what happened when we saw that strength develop. We saw macro continuations. So we are seeing the pieces fall in place still for that parabolic phase for Bitcoin. Moving over to this chart, like we said, for us to enter the parabolic phase, we need to see two verifications. Number one, we need to see the RSI break 80. Every single time we saw the RSI break 80, we draw a vertical line from this point onwards, the RSI break 80, vertical line, we can see from that breakout point. So let's just zoom out a little bit. From that breakout point, okay, that is when we really saw the parabolic phase start. That is the breakout of the prior all-time high. We saw that parabolic phase start. From that RSI break over 80 point, that is when we broke above the prior all-time high. That is when we saw that parabolic phase start. Again, 2020, break of the 80, we broke that all-time high, we saw that parabolic phase start. So one of the main factors of our parabolic phase is going to be high time frame momentum, and for that, we're going to need to see that RSI on the 80 break above RSI break above 80 on the monthly chart, which is 24 days remaining, until we can say we are seeing a similar pattern play out, which is us entering that parabolic phase. And we do know this is a parabolic phase because if we look at the angle of the trend, okay, if we assess the angle of the trend, then the angle of the trend is simply a reflection of high time frame strength. We can see from the bottom to that horizontal trend line, and then from that horizontal trend line to the all-time high, we can see the angle of the trend significantly increases from 40 to 53 degrees. Okay, looking back at the prior cycle, from the bottom, okay, to the solid trend line, and then from the solid trend line to the all-time high, once more, the angle increases from 40 to 74 degrees. And we can do exactly the same thing back over here, angle of trend line to that horizontal trend line, 60 degrees, and then again, we increase to a whopping 73 degrees. So we can see the moment we break above that prior all-time high, we see a significant shift in the strength of the angle, which is suggestive of high time frame strength. Finally, guys, if we move on to altcoins and wrap up the video here, we are seeing Bitcoin and the total crypto market cap and altcoins play out exactly like we saw before. If we look at where we are now on altcoin market cap, we are underneath this higher low, okay? This higher low over here, okay, lower high should I say, which is in this red box zone. If we look at Bitcoin, when altcoins were at this point in the past, so this point over here, January, December 2021, was exactly the same period when Bitcoin was retesting that prior all-time high. So look at where Bitcoin is now, okay? If we look where Bitcoin is now, this is a total altcoin market cap, but we look where Bitcoin is now, it is retesting that prior all-time high. We are in that exact same spot for altcoins. So altcoins are not lagging. Altcoins are exactly where they should be according to historical data as per prior cycles. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic day. Remember to like the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one tomorrow. Cheers.